Let's consider the science of stories. Before we journey into a famous old cave, let's talk about a cool way people tell stories. It's called an allegory. Now that might sound like a complicated word, but the idea is really simple. An allegory is a story where the characters and events are symbols for something else. Think of it like a secret code hidden inside a narrative. The story has one meaning on the surface, which is usually pretty straightforward, but it also has a deeper, hidden meaning. It's a way for a writer or a thinker to talk about big ideas like politics, philosophy, or human nature without saying them directly. It's storytelling with a purpose. Imagine you have a cartoon about two squirrels fighting over a single acorn. On the surface, it's just a funny story about squirrels. But what if the author really meant for the squirrels to represent two countries, and the acorn to represent a valuable resource? See, that's an allegory. The story isn't just about the squirrels anymore, it's about a much bigger, more complex issue. It uses a simple, relatable situation to help us understand a complicated one. This method makes big ideas easier to grasp and a lot more memorable than just reading a list of facts or arguments. It's a powerful tool for teaching and persuasion. Plato, a very influential thinker from ancient Greece, was a master of this. He wanted to explain his ideas about reality, knowledge, and how we learn. But these are huge, brain-bending topics. So instead of just writing a dense textbook, he created a story. He invented a scenario with prisoners, a cave, and shadows. This story is known as the Allegory of the Cave. It's one of the most famous allegories ever written because it presents his complex philosophy in a way that we can visualize and explore. It's a thought experiment, a mental model to help us see the world in a new way. So, as we explore this cave, remember that everything we see is part of this bigger code. The prisoners, the chains, the flickering fire, and the shadows they see dancing on the wall, they all stand for something more. Plato designed each element to represent a piece of his philosophical puzzle. By understanding the story on the surface, we can then start to unlock the deeper meaning he wanted to share with the world. It's a journey from a simple story to a profound understanding of how we perceive our own reality. So let's get our thinking caps on and step inside. Let's picture the scene Plato described. Imagine a deep, dark cave. Inside this cave, there's a group of people who have been prisoners their entire lives. They have been there since they were children, and they know nothing else. Their legs and necks are chained so they can't move. They can't even turn their heads to look around. They are forced to stare at a flat wall directly in front of them. This wall is their entire world, the only thing they have ever known. They have never seen the sun, the sky, or even each other's faces. Their reality is limited to this one single view, day in and day out. Behind these prisoners there is a fire. The fire provides the only light in this dark part of the cave, and it casts a warm, flickering glow. Between the fire and the prisoners, there's a raised walkway, like a little stage. Along this path, other people walk back and forth. These people are carrying various objects on their heads, statues of animals, tools, and all sorts of other figures. The prisoners can't see these people or the real objects they are carrying. They can only see the shadows that these objects cast onto the wall in front of them. The fire projects these shapes onto their screen of reality. For the prisoners, these shadows are not just shadows, they are reality itself. When the people on the walkway talk, their voices echo in the cave, and the prisoners believe the sounds are coming from the shadows. If a shadow of a bird is cast on the wall, they believe it is a bird. They give names to the different shadows and talk about them as if they are real things. They would even have contests to see who is the best at identifying the shadows as they pass by. Their entire system of knowledge, their language, and their culture would be built around this world of two-dimensional flickering shapes. Think about it. If this is all you had ever experienced, you would have no reason to believe anything else existed. The shadows would be your truth. You would defend this truth fiercely because it's the foundation of your entire existence. The concept of a real object creating the shadow would be completely alien, an impossible idea. The prisoners are not just physically trapped, they are mentally trapped in a very limited perception of the world. They are comfortable in their ignorance because it is the only comfort they have ever known. Their world is simple, predictable, and made entirely of shadows. Now Plato asks us to imagine something remarkable happening. What if one of the prisoners is suddenly set free? Perhaps their chains break, and they are forced to stand up and turn around. The first thing they would experience is pain. Their eyes, accustomed only to the dim darkness, would ache from the bright light of the fire. Their limbs, stiff from being chained for so long, would be sore and weak. When they see the fire and the people carrying the objects, they would be utterly confused. The reality they are now witnessing is so different from the shadow world they knew. It would be a shocking and disorienting experience. If someone tried to explain that the objects were more real than the shadows on the wall, the prisoner would probably refuse to believe it. The shadows were clear and familiar, while these new three-dimensional objects are confusing, and the fire is painfully bright. In fact, the prisoner might want to turn back to the comfort and familiarity of the wall, to the simple reality they understood. The truth in this case is not immediately welcome. It's difficult and uncomfortable. The prisoner is being forced out of their comfort zone, and their natural instinct would be to resist this new, challenging information and retreat to what they know. But the story continues. The freed prisoner is then dragged out of the cave entirely and into the outside world. The sunlight would be blindingly painful, far more intense than the fire. At first, they wouldn't be able to see anything at all. They would have to slowly adjust. They might start by looking at shadows in the outside world, then at reflections in the water. Gradually, they would be able to look at the objects themselves, the trees, the flowers, the animals. They would see the world in vibrant color and stunning detail for the first time. It would be a breathtaking revelation, a complete shattering of their former reality. Finally, after their eyes have fully adjusted, the prisoner would be able to look up at the sun itself. They would understand that the sun is the source of all light and life. It is what makes everything visible and allows things to grow. They would realize that the fire in the cave was just a cheap imitation of this magnificent sun, and the shadows were just faint copies of the real objects outside. This former prisoner now understands the true nature of reality. They have moved from a world of illusion to a world of truth and enlightenment, a journey that was painful and difficult but ultimately incredibly rewarding. So, what does this fascinating story about a cave and shadows really mean? Plato wasn't just talking about prisoners, he was talking about us. The cave represents our everyday world, the society we live in. The prisoners are all of us, the ordinary people who accept what we see and hear without questioning it. The shadows on the wall represent the information we are fed, the opinions, beliefs, and values that are presented to us as truth by our culture, our media, or even our friends and family. We accept these shadows as reality because it's what everyone around us believes. It is the comfortable, shared reality we are born into. The escape from the cave is a symbol for the journey of a philosopher or anyone who seeks true knowledge. It represents the process of education and enlightenment. The journey is hard because questioning our most basic beliefs is difficult and often painful. It can make you feel isolated from the people you grew up with, the other prisoners who are still content watching the shadows. The world outside the cave represents the world of ideas, of true reality and understanding. The sun symbolizes pure truth or goodness, the ultimate source of all knowledge. It is the goal of the philosophical journey, to see things as they truly are, not just as they appear to be. This allegory is incredibly relevant today, perhaps more than ever. Think about the caves we live in now. We get our information from television, social media feeds, and websites. These sources often show us a carefully curated version of reality, a world of shadows designed to keep us engaged, entertained, or to influence our opinions. It is so easy to stay inside our own digital caves where algorithms show us only what we already agree with, reinforcing our existing beliefs. We are like the prisoners, happily watching the shadows flicker across our screens, mistaking them for the whole picture. Plato's story is a powerful reminder to always be curious and to question what we are told. It encourages us to seek a deeper understanding, to metaphorically step out of our own caves and into the sunlight. It's a call to think critically, to challenge assumptions, and to have the courage to pursue knowledge, even when it's difficult or uncomfortable. The allegory of the cave teaches us that true education is not just about learning facts. It's about learning how to see the world differently, to distinguish the shadows from the substance, and to embark on our own personal journey toward enlightenment. Now that's a scientific way to think about thinking.